Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the People Processes Podcast. I'm your host, Rami Alijil, and I'm excited to have you join me here today. We're finishing up our August updates on the state-by-state level today. This is part 3. If you have an early state, if you have a Connecticut or a Arizona, start back on part 1. If you're in the Minnesotas or the Montanas, that's in the part 2, and now we are here in the last half or the last third, which really is the last half. Starts with ends. We got New Jersey, New Hampshire, all kinds of fun stuff going through on this one. Please enjoy. We'll be having a series like this each month. I'll be working on different formatting to try and make it a bit easier to follow. We have all of this written out. We have on our website at peopleprocesses.com. So please check that out and subscribe if you would like to get some special subscriber-only content. Enjoy the show, and I'll see you soon. Let us dive right in. Oh, by the way, for those of you who are listening only, we do have PowerPoints of these things. So if you're watching on video, you should be able to see that. If you are listening, we'll make sure to cover all the keys verbally, but please go to peopleprocesses.com so you can download and subscribe so that we can email you subscriber-only content that we try to keep updated for you guys. Now, first up, let's start in Nebraska. This is a quick thing. The Employee Classification Act has been amended to change the enforcement provisions. The change provides that the commissioner may issue a citation to a contractor when an investigation reveals that a contractor has violated the act. This is different. Used to be you had to bring up a lawsuit, right? The state wage and hour division would had to have come in and said, okay, all right, here's the problem, we're suing you. Now, when a commissioner, or one of his agents, when an investigator is out at your office and sees that you have people who are misclassified or classified inappropriately, they can just write you a ticket. And the fees are not small. So it makes enforcing this provision much easier. Something to think about, maybe time to do a review to make sure all your independent contractors are appropriately classified. Speaking of Nebraska, Nebraska has updated their smoking in the workplace policies. This is the Nebraska Clean Indoor Air Act. It's amended to exempt electronic smoking device retail outlets from smoking prohibitions under the law. Basically, the vaping shops, they are now places you can smoke in. It permits smoking in public places where the public would reasonably expect to find persons smoking, including guest room suites designated as smoking rooms, institutions engaged in research related to smoking, and tobacco retail outlets, electronic smoking device retail outlets, and cigar shops, with narrow application and restrictions under the law. In addition, posting and notice requirements for owners of tobacco retail outlets are revised. Such owners may allow smoking of cigars and pipes inside the business, but shall not allow cigarette smoking or the use of an electronic smoking device inside the business. So you have to pick, are you a vape shop or are you a cigar shop? Important to know. In Nebraska, the Wage Payment and Collection Act has been amended to provide a change requirements for wage claims under the Act. This prohibits employers from discriminating or retaliating against employees who file a suit or complaint under the Act or who testify, assist, or participate in an investigation. This is not a huge change. It's kind of implied in the prior law, but they're making it explicit because there have been some cases where employees have wrongfully complained about wage payment and then had retaliatory issues taken, like terminations or demotions or suspensions without pay. Bringing a complaint is not something you can punish people for. Okay. On to New Hampshire. A new law prohibits a public employer, so we're talking city, state government, from inquiring about or conducting a criminal background check on a prospective employee prior to an interview. Such inquiries are permitted during an interview, however. This is brought up. I know many of you are not small city governments, though there are a few of you listening, because where the state goes, often the private industry follows. So keep in mind that criminal background checks should be reserved as a rule until after you make an offer for national compliance. So you want to, again, in many states, ban asking about criminal history. That's called banning the box. Do your interview. If they fit, do your criminal background check after the offer. The offer letter would be contingent on the background check being passed. I know it's a bit more work, but it does make you compliant in pretty much every state by doing it that way. Speaking of other states, New Jersey. The New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development has adopted new regulations for tipped workers. A tipped employee is defined as anybody who gets more than $30 a month in tips. This is normally restaurants, catering, so on and so forth, barbershops, nail salons. If you are one of those, an employer of a tipped worker must either pay the tipped employee the state minimum wage in full, or the employee may choose to take or the employer may choose to take a tip credit to reduce that down to a lower minimum wage for tipped employees. Tipped credit plus cash must, of course, exceed the state's minimum wage. But this is the change. The regulation specifically states that tips belong exclusively to the employee. Tips may not be used as wages or as contributions to a valid tip pool and are not, may only be used as wages or as contributions to a valid tip pool and are not permitted to be used for any other purposes, such as paying credit card transaction fees. And that's one of the keys. Credit card transaction fees were being removed from tips, and some employers were actually paying a higher wage and keeping the tips, which is, that's a thing. It's like, hey, pay everybody $15 an hour. You're far beyond the tipped minimum wage, but we keep the tips as a company. Not legal in New Jersey anymore, okay? Actually, that goes into effect August 3rd, so we're past that. So, give your tips to your employees in New Jersey. Puerto Rico has a new workplace harassment and bullying law. I wanted to highlight and spend a little time on this. It's a law to prohibit and prevent workplace harassment in Puerto Rico. Workplace harassment or bullying consists of repeated verbal, written, or physically abusive conduct by an employer, his or her supervisors, or other employees outside the legitimate interests of the employer's company. It must not be desired by the person and goes against a person's protected constitutional rights. It involves hostile and unethical communication that is systematically administered by one or more individuals and as a result is thrown into a situation of loneliness and defensiveness based on frequent and persistent harassment actions throughout an extended period of time. With this law, it will be the responsibility of every employer, both public and private, to take the necessary measures to eliminate and prevent the occurrence of harassment in the workplace. This will be codified in the Puerto Rico laws, annotated and enacted August 3rd, effective August 7th. This is a summary of an unofficial translation of the text of the law because you can't get the actual text. I can't find it. Anyway, this is interesting. Harassment is already a required training in many states. Sexual harassment, obviously, but bullying is becoming more and more a training requirement. What is bullying, and how do you stop it in the workplace? Puerto Rico is kind of leading the charge here, and we want to take a close look at how this plays out. Even though Puerto Rico has very different laws than many other states, we want to see how this goes. If you have employees in Puerto Rico, please keep in mind that you will likely need to develop a training program and a way of identifying bullying inside your organization. Next up, Rhode Island. A new law creates a new process with standards to be utilized when deciding whether past convictions should disqualify an applicant from receiving state-issued occupational licenses, permits, certificates, or registrations they seek. Furthermore, the law prohibits state agencies from discriminating by considering protected characteristics in the granting, denying, or revoking of a license or charter. So, basically, this doesn't change anything, but it says the state is going to change things in terms of licensure. For example, in insurance and financial services, there are things like you can't have a bankruptcy, right, in order to maintain your license. Handling a lot of money, maybe that's a reasonable thing. But many states also have criminal background checks that are part of that. This will be revised, and many states are moving this way. They're becoming more lax in criminal convictions, disqualifying you from certain licensure requirements. Moving on, Vermont. Vermont has changed the maximum weekly benefit, has been increased to $531 a week. It's a big change. Also, from July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021, rates will be determined, will range from 0.4% to 5.4% in Vermont. New employers will pay 1%, while new out-of-state employers will pay either 3.5 for those involved in construction, 4.9 in heavy and civil engineering, and 4.2 for specialty trade contractors. So they changed those rates up a little bit. That's in Vermont. Wyoming has also raised their unemployment insurance to $526 per week as well. That's it. Those are the updates in the states.
We did it. August updates complete. Tons of information in there, I know. I hope
at least one of those states applied to you. I know not everybody has employees in all 50 states, but that's what you have us here for, to keep track of all of that. If People Processes can help you in any way as you grow and scale your organization, please let me know. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe. We're new to this YouTube thing, so if you're listening on there, please take a moment to smash that thumbs up button or drop me a comment. I'm watching every single one of those personally, and I want to reply. If you're on iTunes, thank you so much. Leave a review, and either way, go to peopleprocesses.com and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. My name's Rami Ali Jill, and I very much appreciate it. I hope you learned something today. Now it's time for you to go out there, have a great day, and get your work done. I'll see you tomorrow.